Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel where skincare is all about progression over perfection because perfection doesn't exist. Welcome back to another Instagram versus reality. As always, we're going to be talking about filters today, glitching filters, what's new in filters, and it's kind of scary what's new in filters, I must say. And I'm going to be doing a routine to kind of like just help me feel a bit more awake and alive. So let's get into it. I'm just going to quickly cleanse. I love this. This is the Bioderma. It's a micellar water. I don't know. It just had a penguin on the front and I love the other Bioderma micellar water. And what I love about this one, I think that this is like a baby, like sensitive skin one. I love these pumps. I love the size of it. Ooh. When my skin is feeling particularly dry or sensitive in areas, I just go over with a micellar water. So I want to talk about something very briefly before we get into this subject. And I had a fair enough comment on an Instagram versus reality video a while back, actually, asking me why I only talk about women in these videos. Now, that's not necessarily true. We have discussed men, influencers, and celebrities alike. But there's two reasons here, really. First of all, I want to say that I'm coming at these videos and these filters and these undisclosed filtered ads from a perspective of an editorial and advertising photography graduate, where we learn a lot about digital retouching, but also as an influencer who knows a lot about the law and the legal side of advertising. So I'm not sat here like, look at these stupid idiots like using filters because they're ugly. Like that's not, I hope that's not the approach that is coming across. And I mainly talk about influencers because that's where I feel at the moment where most of the misleading marketing is coming from, whether it's done on purpose or not. And when it comes to beauty influencers, more often than not, they are women. It's just industry we're in, I guess, and I mentioned before we have talked about some men as well. But second of all, and more importantly, it's always women because typically men don't face the same scrutiny from the general public that women do about their own personal image. And this is something deep rooted within history. This isn't just from the birth of being an influencer and the birth of filters. This goes back to men deciding what women can wear, how they should look, how much makeup they can and can't wear, early advertising reminding women that everything they do with their image is for their man, you know, the constant pressure they have on their image that in most cases the majority of men will never face. Now that's not to downplay any body issues, mental health that men face, because they do, and I feel like another topic for another video, and men's mental health needs to be discussed way more than it is. But yeah, this is something again is one of those things where I'd rather you hear it from a woman. So I put some links in the description from videos that I feel like really explain how deep rooted these issues are, and you know, women's personal experiences with this in the media as well. So I'm going to go in with a serum. This is the Pink Guava Brightening Serum from White Rabbit. I've only tried it once, so this is a product I can't really give much feedback on yet, but I'm experimenting with. Nice and light pink. Ooh. Let's talk about that infamous Jennifer Lopez filter glitch that is going around at the moment. When JLo launched her skincare brand, there were kind of like three main questions that everybody had. One, is olive oil really that good for your skin? Two, like every other celebrity skincare brand, is this brand actually going to be any good? And three, are those pictures from her brand campaign as heavily filtered and retouched as they look? JLo kind of went on this social media campaign with the launch of her products like you would expect her to, fresh-faced, using her products to show off her trademark JLo glow. And this was in stark contrast to the heavily, I would say overly retouched editorial pictures for her skincare line. And then the more you kind of looked at her skincare content, these were like skincare routines for likes of, you know, like Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, on her social media. The more we looked at them, the more we started to question, like, why does her skin actually look like that? It's actually kind of blurry and weird looking. And you can actually take a look at most of her recent skincare routines and makeup routines, and you can very clearly tell, in my opinion, that these videos are very heavily filtered. And there's a few telltale signs when it comes to these filters. Number one, look at the hairline. When you're using a phone and kind of like these basic skin filter programs, whether it's a filter on Instagram, Snapchat, or you have something like Snow, sometimes these filters struggle to tell where the skin and the thinner parts of hairline stop and begin. So what you end up with is this weird kind of like almost like wig looking line of a hairline with this weird kind of blur around it because the filter's kind of struggling to be like, is that skin or hair? Filter sign number two is that these filters tend to struggle with changing highlights and shadows. So where you can see the lights, studio lights hitting my skin, where you can see shadow under here, These filters can't really keep up with that. And what that kind of ends up doing is making the skin almost look like it's glitching and jumping around. For example, you'll have a big highlight here and all of a sudden it'll just disappear and show up over here. Is the app trying to keep up with natural light and shadows whilst also trying to hide texture, and it just gets confused and you end up with moving skin, like how skin shadows and heights don't move in real life. The third sign, obvious sign, is it's just blurry. No one's blurred in real life. And I'll say it's different to the video just looking poor quality because sometimes that can add an odd blurring effect, but it's different because it almost has this soft focus rather than just a poor quality pixel issue. Look at the palm of her hands, completely blurred. And then you can just look at her chest area, completely blurred. I feel like this may have more to do with her initial video being recorded on her phone or whatever with a subtle filter, still a filter, then let's say being passed to her assistant, which then went to like production, which then finally got posted online. And the more these videos travel around, you're obviously going to lose quality, kind of like exaggerating the filter that she had already used. Not to say she didn't use a filter, but when you lose quality, these filters become like 1,000 times more obvious, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. Now, this all happened a while ago, but the reason I bring this up now is because JLo was recently featured in, I think it was like an advert for like a gym energy drink. Or I don't actually know what the advert was for. She was drinking something. But the ad went viral, not because of what the product was and how good the product is, but because of this very obvious glitch you see in the advert. And the glitch is milliseconds. Like when I first watched the video, I struggled to see anything, to be honest with you. So I had to find a screenshot online and you can see there is a clear glitch. But what you see here, in my opinion, is exactly how we see her on the red carpet. Like, you know, she's got a little bit of makeup on, natural looking makeup, but you see the lines under her eyes, you see some skin texture. You know, on the red carpet, you see all these and she still looks absolutely stunning. And then you see it in this glitch and you just see what you expect a human to have on their face. And I would say, looking at the majority of her content, while the filter is obviously very obvious, I would say her skin texture here is probably made more obvious by the kind of makeup she's wearing, enhancing some lines and textures, studio lights. You know, you have to consider these type of things as well. It's probably exaggerating everything you can see on her face. But now to me, it's just so obvious that a skin smoothing filter is being used on the majority of her content. Do I care that someone is using a skin smoothing filter for an advert, an energy drink advert, or whatever it is, a vitamin drink? No, I really honestly don't give a shit. Do I care that a skincare brand owner is saying that her blurred porcelain, perfect looking skin is due to her skincare products that she sells? Yes, I do care about that a lot. And whilst I think advertising standards do need to be like, do something, do something, they have all these rules and they never chase up on them. They make examples of the occasional influencer, then nothing happens for years. This is someone who is clearly using false advertising to advertise their skincare products. But this is another example of a woman of a certain age who probably feels the pressure to do this because if she didn't, people have nasty things to say about her. If she did, she's overly filtered. You know, she can't win either way. But this next topic kind of makes me think, what if they never even used a filter in the first place? We wouldn't have anything to compare it to. And then there wouldn't be all these like celebrity before and after, celebrities without filters things. I'm going to use an eye cream now, which I still can't talk about. I have no idea when this eye cream is coming out. And I hate when influencers do this, where they're like, I can't talk about this yet, but I have to use it. I have to use it because I really, really like it. And I don't know when this brand is going to come out with this eye cream. I hope they do, because I've just got like a lab sample of it. But I'm going to be using this eye cream because my eyes are feeling incredibly dry. Whenever I go to London and use like hard water, I get really itchy around the eyes. So I'm using this nice, really thick eye cream. Not really thick, comfortably thick, with my Dew eye patches just to kind of like help lock in some of that moisture and hydration. So for example, about what I was saying about these filters, someone actually posted these pictures of Kim Kardashian, her pictures of her on a night out versus pictures of her tagged in other celebrities and friends' Instagram pictures, paparazzi pictures, whatever. In every single picture, Kim Kardashian, who is known for her visuals, obviously looks stunning. However, people obviously started to quickly make comparisons between the pictures she posted versus the paparazzi pictures. And unsurprisingly for a Kardashian, her pictures on her Instagram are heavily retouched. I don't believe she just like face tunes. From what I saw, what was I watching? It seems like she selects a certain amount of pictures and sends them to somebody to have professionally retouched. Honestly, it took about 10 years off her face. But in an almost nice surprise twist, the comments on these pictures were kind of like, nice. People weren't like, oh my gosh, she's so heavily filtered. People were like, oh my god, she looks so old compared to her, you know, own face-tuned pictures. People are actually commenting on how amazing she looks on her unretouched pictures. I was saying that's exactly how we expect Kim Kardashian, who is in her 40s, to look. That's exactly what, still obviously looks great, but that's how people expect her to look. You know, just real. And other women were commenting saying like, I love seeing this side of her. I love seeing her look like that. She looks great. She looks stunning. And I stumbled across this video from Thoughts, I think it's like Thoughts W Gracie, but Thoughts with Gracie on TikTok. And I think she perfectly sums up how we really all feel about the use of filters and how celebrities pretty much shoot themselves in the foot by over photoshopping and filtering their pictures in the first place.
I saw another content creator talking about how it was very shocking to see the photoshopped photos that Kim Kardashian put out from this night and then the unedited, untouched ones that people that she took pictures with put out. And honestly, I think that her decrease in popularity and like the Kardashians kind of fall from being on the top is happening because they try to keep up these appearances that they had when they were like 29, and the hold and the audience and the like image that they had when they were 29, but they're not 29 now. Kim's 40 something. If she would have not photoshopped her photos so hardcore for the past 5 years and like aged gracefully, it would not be as big of a shock to the public or even a topic of conversation. And if she showed the slightest bit of realness, I'm pretty sure people would applaud her for it. But instead they get a glimpse behind the curtain and they realize it's all a facade and that not even she looks like this anymore.
Listen, I don't believe in aging gracefully. I believe in aging however the fuck you want. Age healthily is a privilege to be aging in the first place. But I agree in the fact that when celebrities and influencers retouch themselves so much, they're just kind of like not doing themselves a favor, because you're going to look different someday. You're going to grow older. You know, we're growing up with the Kardashians, not me as much because I don't really watch it, but their audience are growing up with them. Why wouldn't you want to be part of that and show that and, you know, kind of like mature as a celebrity? I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? I kind of don't know what I'm saying. But, you know, this isn't just the Kardashians. It's everyone who overly photoshops their pictures, and influencers especially, who like you meet in real life and you're like, oh, didn't know it was you. Or brand founders, for example. So I'm just gonna rehydrate my face. This is Round Labs. I believe it's just like a thermal spring water before I moisturize. Then I'm gonna use the Siggy Skin, I think it is, Idyllic Fields Daytime Moisturizer. 71% oats, truxarutin, I've never heard of before, polyglutamic acid, and matcha extracts. Just really nice, soothing, healing, calming moisturizer. So speaking of TikTok, we've all seen that bold glamour filter, right? It's basically like Faceapp, Facetune, but in real time. And the thing is with this filter, we've all had beauty filters before. We've all seen those ones that kind of like change your lip shape and, you know, they can be very subtle, but this filter was so extreme, is so extreme. The before and afters are just like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And honestly, I feel like the filter's clearly based on the amount of Facetune and filtering that influencers do. It gives you this very kind of like old glam, Instagram glam, Kardashian type look that was very, very popular with like millennials. And it makes everyone look completely different. Now, there's something very unique about this filter in the sense that it does look hyper realistic, and it kind of goes against all those things you kind of look for that we were talking about earlier when trying to spot a filter. So 1, there's no dodgy hairline. 2, there's no glitching on the face and in the backgrounds. And 3, you can put your hand in front of the filter and it's not going to glitch. I feel like if this wasn't so obvious and so extreme, like such an extreme before and after, I actually probably wouldn't notice the filter. So why is this filter so good? Not good in existence, but good in the sense that it's impressive in a way of how of what it can do. I'm trying to be careful with my words, because as someone who's into this kind of stuff, it's impressive. As somebody who's against filtering and a lot of things, It's terrifying. So according to TheVerge.com in February of this year, TikTok rolled out an update to their filter creation tool, Effect House, which included generative AI effects, with TikTok promising that the effects will match a person's skin and are pretty much seamless. Luke Hurd, who is an augmented reality consultant who's worked with Snapchat and Instagram, we all remember those Snapchat filters, that's kind of where it began. He tells The Verge that these techniques differ from how most filter effects have been made until now. Traditional filters will usually take your 2D camera feed and map your face onto an exaggerated 3D model. You know what, it's actually too hard to explain. It's technically very savvy, so I'm just going to play this video from Luke's Twitter and let him explain.
Y'all, lots of comments on this video, but this one is probably my favorite because it's a really good question. Not so sure I get your explanation. Is it a 3D mesh that notices other things or just machine learning? Tell me how it works. I'll tell you how it works. All right, let's jump into Metaspark AR to explain how a face mesh works on a traditional filter. As I mentioned in the previous video, the face mesh is just a 3D model that tracks and adheres to your face. I can then take the texture of your face and apply it to the face mesh. The top preview is how things will look on your screen, but you can see as I rotate the scene around how the trick actually works. We're simply overlaying a 3D model on top of your two-dimensional camera feed and manipulating it. This is how filters can alter your appearance pretty convincingly, until you start to cover your face and the model has a hard time adhering, causing the glitches that traditional filters commonly have. These new filters, on the other hand, are using something called machine learning, and that includes filters like bold glamour, teenage look, if you're on Snapchat, the babyfy effect, or the gender swap where you can become a man or a woman. These all use something called machine learning, and this is a gigantic topic that I certainly cannot cover here, but they use something called a GAN. That's a generative adversarial network. And what that means is they take your image here of you and they compare it to a data set of other images and then redraw your pixels, pixel by pixel, on the output of your camera feed, which is why you can't put your hand in front of your face and easily block it. It doesn't glitch out the same way because there's not a 3D model sitting in front of your face. It is the actual output of the camera feed. It's not being overlaid in front of it.
So it looks like this is just the start of something. It looks like we're going to be seeing a lot more ultra convincing TikTok filters. This is something interesting that I wanted to share. So Ezra Freeman on TikTok posted this video slideshow explaining how to take a better picture, like on a night out, at dinner, whatever. And there's so many good points in this video. Now, when we look at the original slideshow video, it's very obvious that she's done like a normal before, then her after has been very, very face-tuned or Faceapped. You know when you can tell it's that certain look, that certain style, you can tell it's just been done on Faceapp. And I get that she was trying to show how to take a better picture, but technically this is a fake before and after. However, she isn't an influencer. She says herself, I'm not an influencer. She's not advertising her makeup or skincare. She's not an influencer who is used to all these, I guess you can say, technicalities that are involved in the influencer world. However, if she was a photography influencer, this would be bad. So let's watch her video response to being called out about using Faceapp for this before and after.
This is such a fun thing about being a content creator. Like, you never know when something is going to go viral. And obviously, I had no idea when I posted this like photo series this morning that was going to go viral. I'm not a beauty content creator whatsoever. I also don't take Instagram very seriously. Like, I have it, but it's not my thing. No, but I do use Faceapp. And I don't know, it was more like a lighting tip I was trying to post, because it's something that like all of my friends always say, like, oh, you're the one who taught me the 0.5 and flash thing. Like, I'm even using it right now when I'm doing this in the streets of New York. Anyways, I didn't think it was going to be that deep. 4 million views and people are taking it pretty seriously. It seems to be that deep. So my message is definitely learn my lesson that like anything I post as a person with a phone with internet access on this app has the potential to go viral. So we all really have influence. I should have definitely disclosed that I use Faceapp. However, all of the women in the comments who are saying like, you know, mean things like, oh, this is so cringe, or you should be so embarrassed. Guys, this is why this is a problem. You judging me for editing my photos is basically just as bad as me essentially judging myself, which is what you're judging me for. And it's just a really bad cycle. Approach this type of thing from a place of compassion, in my opinion. I'm just not like a person that would comment that on someone else's content.
So I get tagged daily in people's content who have used very obvious filters, who aren't influencers, who aren't selling anything, who are just trying to pose at a zoo or like with their friends. And honestly, I don't care. Like, I don't care if they're using a filter. That's not what these videos are about. Let them use filters. As I said, it's a deeper society ingrained issue, and not just being like, no one should use filters. Stop using filters. Hopefully one day we'll get to a point where people will not feel the need to use filters, and that's what it is. It's not people being like, oh, I really like this picture, but I want to use a filter to look even better. It's probably coming from a place of like not liking the way they look. Use filters, go for it, unless you're selling me something and you're changing the way you look in order to sell that. Almost faking the effects of what a product can actually do. So here's one last one I want to end on. Kind of different away from filters, but take a look at this advert of an eye cream that I've recently been featured in from an eye cream that I use. You can see it's the same bottle, but obviously this, I have no fucking clue what this eye cream is. I don't know what this is. I've been tagged in this a lot recently. I kind of get tagged in this maybe this time every year. Once a year, every year. And this is something that's getting more and more kind of popular, is these kind of like drop shipping brands taking videos of influencers using products that look very similar to the products they're using, putting it in their advert and almost making it look like the celebrity is endorsing their product. This happens all the time, especially if you just use a serum or a moisturizer. Like, so many companies have taken just a video of me putting moisturizer on my face and saying that it's their cream or it's their sunscreen when it's not. So be very careful when you see a celebrity or an influencer endorsing a product in like a slideshow montage of people using products. It most likely isn't them unless it's an official verified brand. So just be on the lookout for that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Instagram versus reality. Leave comments, discussions in the comments down below. You can watch the whole Instagram versus reality playlist here. Some general light entertainment here, and I'll see you over there.